We'll go on next to Senator Mackenzie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Phelan, great to see you. My question relates to data, information, recommendations, advice that the ACIC may have provided National Cabinet in addressing its COVID-19 response around the banning or the regulation of firearms and ammunition.
We have not provided any of that advice to that effect, Senator.
Thank you. So no advice around the relationship between ammunition sales and domestic violence?
Not from us. I have read media reports, certainly from other jurisdictions, about how their police commissioners have
WA,
done so.
Victoria and Queensland?
But not from us.
Okay, thank you. Well, on to happier topics. Could you provide the committee with an update on the firearms database rollout?
Yeah, certainly. If you just let me grab my paperwork here.
While you're doing that, Mr. Phelan, who would be the appropriate agency or departmental section that would provide that sort of advice to National Cabinet?
Well, most of it, of course, is a state matter. It really is a matter that the states would raise, I imagine, through the National Cabinet process individually. There's no coordination certainly done by.
So it would be
our agency.
firearm registries or state police organisations that would be somehow going through their premiers to put that on the agenda of National Cabinet?
That would be my heavily qualified advice.
Okay, thank you.
I can perhaps assist.
Thank you, Mr. Pizzullo.
Senator, I do apologise, I was momentarily distracted. The premise of your question, did it relate specifically to COVID or to matters that previously would have been under the remit of COAG?
No, it relates specific to public commentary around National Cabinet's COVID-19 response,
Yes.
the closure of law-abiding businesses,
Oh, I see.
and the relationship between the sale of firearms and ammunition with domestic violence was sort of the
Oh, I see.
claims being made, and that National Cabinet had made a decision to that effect.
As it pertained to sort of COVID-related business restrictions or closures?
Yes, in that period of time.
I see.
Yep.
Yes, I see.
Yep.
Look. The only I might take it on notice
Thank you.
as the policy department for firearms policy, just to check the records.
Thank you.
Explicitly, as a general response, if I may. The Ministerial Council on Policing, a COAG body.
Yes.
So all of these bodies, as you know, are being worked through by agreement of the National Cabinet to see which ones fit now under the National Cabinet rubric and what is further going to be remaining from the COAG era, as it were. There is a Police Ministers' Council. There's also a Council of Attorneys General. Between those two bodies, whether it's Attorneys General or Police Ministers, and in respect to the latter, the Home Affairs Minister serves as the Police Minister, if you like, at the Commonwealth level. There is a program of work that we've inherited from that COAG era, if I can use that term to describe it, which relates to firearm registration, cross-border movement of data, and so on and so forth. It's not really a matter for either the police services, they advise us, nor the criminal commissions or the criminal intelligence commissions. But if there's anything particular I can come back to you on in detail about a COVID-related firearms matter, I'll come back to you on notice through the Department
Thank you.
of
Well,
Home
there
Affairs.
were businesses shut down at a jurisdictional level based on a claim that advice was given, sought, discussed, decision made in National Cabinet. I'm interested to find out where that data came from and which agency facilitated that discussion.
I'll take that on notice through you, Madam Chair, as a question taken by the department.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Phelan?
Thank you, Senator. You're talking about, you want an update on the Australian Firearms Information Network, so AFIN. Of course, AFIN is not a firearms registry system, nor is it a licensing system. It's about having an end-to-end process so we can have an overview of firearms in this country from their cradle to grave, effectively. So it's about joining each of the registries and so on, so they can track firearms through the system. So
that our hunters can hunt wherever they like and our sporting shooters can travel to different events when they need to, and you can
Well,
locate any given gun at any given time?
in theory, the latter, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so each of the jurisdictions will be joined into the system, and each of their registries, etc. So funding has been made available from the ACIC special account of $8.65 million. I wrote to all of the jurisdictions earlier on in June of this year to confirm that their costs associated with integration for the system that they'd previously made, so that I could make sure that that expenditure occurred in this financial year for planning purposes. They all came back to me and confirmed that they would be ready to join into the system this financial year.
Great.
And at this particular point in time, the Western Australian Police Service has provisioned their information. Then all the others are at varying degrees, but by the 30th of December this year, Western Australian Police Force, Border Force, QPS, South Australian Police, Tasmanian Police, Northern Territory and Home Affairs will be linked into the system, and the remaining jurisdictions, the AFP, Victoria Police and New South Wales, are expected to fully integrate by the 30th of June next year.
Thanks.
There's no change to that plan at all.
Great, thanks, Mr. Phelan. Just a final question, Madam Chair. In 2017, the personal details of almost 9,000 firearm owners were emailed out after the Victorian Government's Department of Environment, Land and Water and Planning mistakenly attached the wrong file on 8 separate occasions. Can you guarantee, Mr. Phelan, that as we move to an electronic system with highly sensitive data, that law-abiding firearm owners' personal details, location of their firearms, their addresses, etc., will be kept very, very safe and out of the wrong hands?
The AFIN system is going to be part of the ACIC's backbone, and it is a secure system.
But I'm sure the Victorian Government Department of Environment, Land and Water would have said the same had I asked them that question prior to this breach.
Our system holds a lot of very sensitive criminal intelligence, fingerprints, DNA, lots of other information that is extremely sensitive, and we have very good protocols around not only the handling of that information but also the securities of the system, as you would expect.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan.
Protocols.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Senator McKenzie.